Welcome to the Digital Dreaming Off the Gridiron podcast. Happy New Year, folks. It is your host, Asif Ali, joined today by my co-host with the most, number 24, Cortez Branch Jr. Obviously, we are here on this beautiful, the second day of 2024. And like Cortez said, it is 2-4, the year of 2-4, so big moves happening. Obviously, the Niners are now the number one seed. The Bears blew out Atlanta, and now there is a lot of trade to talk that we're going to talk about, obviously, with now the Bears now holding the number one overall pick in the 2024 draft. Before we get into that, let's just kind of start off with the Niners. Obviously, the Niners were able to not only win against Washington and bounce back from the embarrassment against Baltimore last Monday night, but they were able to secure the one seed with Arizona's defeat of Philadelphia. And obviously, Kyler Murray putting on a masterclass performance, one of his best of his career up to this date, in my opinion. Obviously, the Arizona Cardinals were able to go to Philadelphia and beat them 35-31. And not only that, but Detroit, Dallas, obviously, winning against Detroit on a controversial finish, that also helped the Niners because the Niners were able to claim the number one spot, with the accumulation of the Detroit Lions loss as well as the Philadelphia Eagles loss. And now, obviously, the Kyle Shanahan has a decision to make this next Sunday against the Rams, who are now also playoff bound, regarding whether or not he's going to rest the starters or give them some reps so that way they're not too rusty. Because now the next game that the Niners are going to play will not be until the weekend of January 20th, which is basically 3 weeks away. So let me ask you, Cortez, what did you think about the first Niners bounce back win? Obviously, the two other games I mentioned, the Cowboys winning over Detroit over that controversial finish, and then obviously the Eagles losing to the Cardinals.
Well, number one, we predicted that the San Francisco 49ers would bounce back.
Yes, we did.
And smash them in the very next game.
Yes, we did.
I believe my exact words were, sometimes you play a game against someone when they have more to lose than you do by losing the game. And their determination is going to win some of the time. The 49ers are back on track. They weren't playing the Ravens again. And not only were they not playing the Ravens again, they proved in every phase of the game that they still have it. They ran plays without Christian McCaffrey to see if they could run their same offense without Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey is one of my favorite players in the league. And I will say, and this is nothing against him, that Christian McCaffrey has a history of getting injured towards the middle or end of the season. That is one of the main reasons why Carolina was willing to part with him. Does that mean that I think that Christian McCaffrey is less of a player? No.
Nope.
Players get injured when you play hard.
Right.
But their coach wanted to make sure that he was going to be able to run his offense with or without Christian McCaffrey.
Mm-hmm.
And he did, and it was successful, which means that he can do this, maybe not at the same volume as Christian McCaffrey, but he can do this in situational plays if Christian McCaffrey has to step out for a second or just not be in the game. I don't think that the 49ers have anything to worry about at all. I think they will cruise to the NFC Championship game. And I think we will get a fantastic matchup depending on where the seeding lands at. And that's just how it's going to be. And I don't think that there's anything barring a late 2-week explosion of offense from several teams that's going to change that. It'd have to be one of those any given Sunday type moments where you guys go out there and dominate. But I don't think it's going to happen to the 49ers. I think they're too strong in every phase of the game. Tight ends, receiving, running backs, defense, offensive line, defensive line. There's not very much that you could poke a hole in when it comes to their team. And I'm not saying this because I'm dick riding the 49ers. I'm saying this because I play, watch, and coach football.
Yes, sir. I want to say one thing to your point that you just made, because I think it's massive. The 49ers, one more thing kind of to your point, Eli Mitchell, Booby Dixon, when he was on last week, he said Eli should get, or Eli or Jordan Mason, they need to get some more touches because, like you said about situational kind of, situational, football, Eli or Jordan are better goal line backs, right? One of the advantages I think kind of with the additional week of rest, since the Niners will basically have a 3 week layoff, um, they have the opportunity to basically play Trent Williams. No, we're not going to play Trent, but I think Christian McCaffrey will probably take off the next week because of the calf strain, like you said. The injury. That was one of the early reasons he got kind of fucked around in, I mean, for lack of a better term, in Carolina.
He did.
He did, right? He got fucked up because of the fact that Carolina didn't have any offensive line and they had no business having him on their roster, a player that talented. Now you're seeing how he can do with a semi-competent offensive line, the best left tackle in football, and the most, in my opinion, the best offensive line currently in the game, in Kyle Shanahan. I think to your point, I expect the Niners to obviously not only play or practice hard like Kyle Shanahan said, but I expect them to be not only good but better off this layover. Because if you know Kyle Shanahan after the bye, offensive coaches like Sean McVay and Andy Reid. Andy Reid's 21-3 after the bye. Kyle Shanahan also has a superb record after the bye. Sean McVay, obviously, it's going to suit them well. It's going to help these veterans get the rest that they need. I would say maybe Brock gets 1 or 2 series. After that, you rest them, and then you basically give Sam Darnold, like the full 4 quarters against the Rams. So that way, everyone, including the depth players, are ready for this postseason run. I agree with you that they're probably going to make the NFC Championship game. Now, back to that question about seeding, like you said, how we'll see how that plays out. Back to my original question about Dallas and Detroit. Dallas right now is now in the driver's seat in terms of getting the number 2 seed and winning the NFC East. Granted that they take care of business against the Washington Commanders on Sunday.
Who
what did you think
that?
about the finish of the game between Dallas and Detroit?
Well, the first question is to go for it. Who called the number 2 seed?
Right, you did.
How many weeks ago was that? Like 6?
Man, I can't remember.
7?
Something.
Right. Yeah. Okay, you guys know I hate the Dallas Cowboys. I respect them, but I hate them, if that makes any sense. The referees didn't save Dallas. Like, all of these talking heads out there in La La Land, maybe they didn't see what I saw. I'm telling you what I saw. I saw a player who normally reports for that play, the same play they tried and failed against the Chicago Bears. I saw a player report that normally reports, and I'm pretty sure that the referee thought that player was reporting too. But in some sleight of hand trickery, he wasn't the one that actually reported. The guy next to him was. So what does Dallas do? Dallas covers the guy who normally reports like normal. Because through their headsets, through their on-field communication, and their middle linebacker, he lets them know, hey, this play's on the field. We've seen this 100 times. We practiced against it. We knew they were bringing this play. And they don't go to that guy. They go to a different guy. So the referee throws a flag and says, hey, well, you guys kind of didn't really actually let me know exactly which one of you was reporting. And he always reports. Why didn't he report this time? And why did you? Look, it could have gone either way. Okay. That flag, though, I think it was completely justified that the Detroit tried some tomfoolery and they didn't get away with it. And they're mad about it because they thought they were clever. And that's not me being a hater. That's me saying that sometimes when you play football, you don't need to get cute. Just play football. Make them stop you. Stop trying to trick them all the time. Make them stop you.
And I just want to say to that point, Dan Campbell's kind of reaction to that whole sequence was the most childish, unbecoming, unprofessional behavior of any head coach this season thus far, outside of Nick Sirianni.
Two players, one coach, Donkey of the Year award for one player and one coach. I'm sorry, Pat Mahomes. You're getting Donkey of the Year. Nothing that anybody else does, short of a scandal, is going to stop what you did from being talked about for the next 2 years. Nothing. No matter how many babies you kiss, no matter how many people. And I'm going to give a co-donkey of the year to 2 coaches. The first one, Sean Payton. What you did showed no testosterone at all. None. You guys wanted to bench Russell Wilson 7 weeks ago. You didn't do it. And because he wouldn't take the contract that you guys wanted him to take. And if the fans don't know what Russell Wilson's issue was, it was because it was a $35 million injury guarantee that they wanted him to waive as a starting quarterback for a struggling franchise, a franchise that has been struggling since Peyton Manning left.
Yep.
Now, Dan Campbell, where is your class? You are the head coach of the Detroit Football Lions. Where is your class? You tried to trick somebody, it did not work, and you cried about it like a child. And that's why you're getting beat over and over. Good job. Congratulations getting on the playoffs after not making them for a dub. Good job. Can't wait till your first round exit, because that's what's going to happen, and we all know it.
100%. I was talking to my buddy today who was a Cowboys fan. He basically said the Detroit Lions scare him. Booby Dixon said the Detroit Lions scare him. But my counter to that, Detroit obviously has their division locked up, but then they're going to have to go on the road. Obviously, that run game, that defense, that secondary is too susceptible. I mean, they have a good run game, they have a great offensive line, but obviously, if you can get pressure on Goff, you see him pulled like you did against Dallas. They had many opportunities to win that game outside of that, and honestly, had Mike McCarthy not tried to force the ball to CeeDee Lamb, he forced Dak to kind of force the ball to CeeDee Lamb in the last 2 minutes. And had they just ran the ball, Dallas would have ran out that clock, and the final score would have been probably 17-13. It wouldn't have even gone to the whole 20 to 21 or 20 to 19 kind of final score. So I think bad coaching in terms of kind of situational play calling kind of gave the Lions the opportunity to have those 3 tries. And kind of to your point, bro, they had 3 tries. You would think after the second or third, or the first or the second, you'd want to keep the extra point and basically just give your team a chance to force overtime. But Dan Campbell was trying to be too aggressive.
You're trying to be cute. You're trying to be cute in a football game that you need to win. Give your team the best opportunity to win. How do you give your team the best opportunity to win? You go into overtime.
Yep.
2-point conversions are literally one of the least converted plays in the entirety of football.
Yep.
They're not guaranteed, especially in the NFL. So if you don't need 2 points, take 1 and go into overtime. You have a better chance at going into overtime. You limited a Dallas offense that had scored 35 points at home. Was it 5 times?
Yep.
5 times. You limited them to 3 scores. At the end of the game, you have the ball, you scored. Yes, your offense is a little bit struggling, but your defense is not.
Exactly.
And you have a big play style of offense. Take the field goal, make the field goal on an extra point, and try to win the coin toss. And if you don't win the coin toss, then your defense gets an opportunity to try and win the game. That's just how it works. I just don't understand the concept behind what he did and threw a fit about it. You already clinched the playoffs. You knew you clinched the playoffs going in. Chill out.
That's simple. You said it best. We're gonna mic drop that.
What 2 7-9 teams battling for another spot? 3 7-9 teams. There was one of them was 7. They all entered the day either 6-9 or 7-8. And you're worried about what's going to happen. 2 teams that are in your division are going to get eliminated. No matter what happens, 2 teams got eliminated on Sunday in your division. The other team doesn't stand a chance unless those 2 teams tie. You have the division. What are you doing?
Exactly.
Stop trying to be cute on primetime.
Absolutely. You said it best, brother. Now let me ask about the Eagles loss, because the Eagles were probably under the 3rd best team in the NFC, or at that point actually the 2nd best, because they're at the 2 seed locked into that 2 spot. up until the loss against Arizona. The Eagles have the same issues that Detroit has. They have a great offensive line, but their secondary is way too susceptible. That defense is not what it used to be. I mean, they do have that front four, but like if I read the stats correctly, last year they had 70 sacks, the third most NFL history. This year they have around 41 sacks, almost half of the production, right, from that front four. So, what is your yeah?
I was invited to join a team many years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and try to lead this team towards the end of their season through the playoffs. And we made it to a championship game versus the Chicago Falcons. And I remember the Chicago Falcons being I believe it was the 6 of 8 seeds, either
That's
6 of
correct.
8 or 7 or 8. Yeah, 6 of 8 seeds.
That's
And
correct.
the team that I joined was a 2 seed.
Yes, sir.
And we blasted 3 teams in the playoffs before we got to the Falcons. And I remember the head coach and the previous players saying that they weren't worried about the Chicago Falcons at all, and we have you guys as well. The first half of the game involved yours truly running a fucking muck until miraculously I didn't play the entire second half. And their coach decided that there was no reason to play his acquired players for that run, and that his guys deserved to go out there and win and beat the Falcons. What proceeded to happen was, without me protecting the quarterback and or getting short yardage, they threw an interception. They had a second half kickoff fumble that I know somebody who caused it.
81, baby.
They had a couple of interceptions returned for touchdowns, and what was a 21-0 game turned into a 35-plus point blowout, and the Falcons won their city championship that year. And the same thing happened to the Eagles in against Arizona.
Yep.
They're the big bad Eagles. Nobody can take us in the NFC. We're not playing anybody this week. They just got destroyed by the Bears. They got 3 wins all season.
Yes, sir.
And they went out there with Kyler Murray and his baby legs, and they spanked the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, my favorite part of you asking me this.
Yeah.
Said the exact same thing last week about San Francisco. They didn't have much to lose by losing. The Eagles don't have much to lose by losing. You don't get the number 1 seed. You never had a shot at it. Not since week, 14 did they have a shot at the number 1 seed?
Yep.
It just wasn't going to happen. Look at the numbers if you don't believe me. The loss to Dallas was a nail in the coffin. So what do you do now? I know what you do. You cruise into the playoffs and you try to close out your season in week 17 with a win. You cruise into the playoffs with a win, and you hope that you guys got enough rest and or time to lick your wounds and go into the playoffs healthy and beat up on all of the 7-9, 10-7, the 8-8, well, it's going to be a 8-9 team in there. We know that there's going to be an 8-9 team in there, or the 9-8 teams. We're gonna have those guys to beat up on. That's what Philadelphia is banking on. I'm not going to overreact about Philadelphia losing to Arizona. I don't think they cared about the game, and I don't think that the players played as hard as they could because, once again, San Francisco clinched when they woke up. Dallas has locked up the number 2 seed when they woke up. This last 2 weeks of the season is it's super predictable. The only game that I think that's going to be the most fun game for me is probably going to be watching the Bears and the Packers on Sunday.
And we're going to get there in a bit, but let's just kind of actually recap what you just said, because I think there's a lot to unpack there. I think though, Philly, had they won that game, they would still be in the mix for that one seed. The Niners would have to not rest this last week. The fact that to your point, they're on cruise control. It's just, I don't even think it's cruise control. I just think that defense is not what it used to be. It's not what it used to be when they lost CJ Gardner-Johnson to the Lions. That whole secondary unit is not the same as they were last year. I mean, you see Darius Slay, you see James Bradbury, they look deflated. Sean decided they switched to Matt Patricia. They improved across the board, but that run defense is dead last, if I'm not mistaken, or at least 28th. Somewhere in the bottom.
They're pretty low. They're bottom feeders.
Yeah, bottom feeders. So that's pretty much where I think that's where they're going to, like you said, a lot of people aren't panicking, but I personally would panic if I was a Philadelphia Eagles fan, because of the fact, the offensive coordinator who's been getting a lot of slack, or has been getting a lot of flack from the Eagles to the kind of fan base, is one issue, Brian Johnson. But I really think that defense is what Shannon Sharp said. That sorry ass defense is the reason why they're losing these games, and that's going to be a big, big problem coming to the playoffs. I can see the Eagles getting bounced on the first very easy.
Who do we think that the Eagles are gonna play in the first round?
I mean, they're gonna have to go on the road. So if they're the fifth seed, which they are currently, right, they're kind of locked into that fifth seed. They're going to probably have to go on the road. And if I'm not mistaken, so Dallas will play the lowest seed, who will either be the Rams or whoever. And then the Eagles will play, I think, maybe the NFC South champion, or they'll play the NFC. I think they'll play the Lions, right? It's going to be the Lions, or probably most likely the Buccaneers.
Lions, Eagles.
Yeah, Lions, Eagles. I don't know. Actually, I think it'll most likely be the Buccaneers, because I think the Lions will be seated higher.
So you might see San Francisco versus Los Angeles.
Right, you might see that, yeah. So San Francisco's not going to play till the divisional, which is nice.
Exactly.
They got
the number one seed the bye week, so they won't,
so
they'll play the winner of those games.
Yeah, LA is going to go to Dallas probably if things hold the way they are. LA will go Dallas, and I'm not sure what the rest. Let me actually pull up the picture, because I want to make sure I have this right.
Yeah, because I think that the Packers are in the mix if they beat the Bears.
They are in the mix, but they also need a lot of tiebreakers. There's a lot of different scenarios that need to happen for the Packers to make it. So let me go down there and check. Because it goes to AFC. No, I'm looking for NFC. Okay. The Niners are locked in number 1. Dallas has to win. They'll be number 2. Detroit's number 3. The Eagles number 5. The Rams are number 6. So what's going right now is the Saints as well as the Buccaneers. If the Buccaneers beat the Panthers, I think, right, on Sunday, then they will have the number 4 seed as NFC South champs. And then right now the Packers are the number 7 seed. So Packers have to play the Vikings. They win that game, they should be fine. But it's crazy to think the Falcons and these other teams, like you said, these 7-9 teams and these 8-8 teams, they're all in the mix. The Saints, Seahawks, in addition to the Vikings and the Falcons. I mean, it's incredible. I'm not sure who's going to get that 7 seed. I believe the Rams will kind of stay firm at the 6 seed. And I think then the Rams will then have to travel to play either, I think, the Lions, right? Because then the 5 seed will play the 4 seed, the 6 seed will play the 3 seed, and the 2 seed will play the 7 seed, would probably be the Packers. So the Cowboys would probably, if it holds the way it is right now, the Cowboys would probably, get out of the first round pretty easily against the Packers. The Buccaneers would probably get bounced by the Eagles. And then the Lions would probably end up, Lions and Rams would be phenomenal, because there's Detroit, who Stafford was traded from, and Goff, who was traded from LA to the Lions. Seeing those 2 quarterbacks, that would be a phenomenal matchup. So I don't know who would win that matchup. So yeah, that's pretty much where we currently stand right now. I mean, a lot of things can change on Sunday, because there's so many. It's like a 1-win margin between the number 4 and the number 12 currency, the Falcons. So, but yeah, I mean, I think to your point, yeah, Eagles will probably get out of the first round if it stands the way it is, but I don't see them advancing much further than that. I don't see them.
I can't see them advancing much further than that.
Right.
And it's because the teams that are above them are more complete teams.
Correct.
I'm not saying that, like I said, I'm so tired of the any given Sunday mentality when it comes to sports. Any given Sunday is for players. Yep. Okay? Any given Sunday is for players. Any given Sunday is not for analysts. Any Given Sunday is not for fans, and Any Given Sunday is not for anybody that's not putting a uniform on and going out there and trying their best to win the game.
Right.
Me, you, and everybody else who's not suiting up for these teams cannot affect them.
Exactly.
Stop telling me about Any Given Sunday every freaking week, people. As you guys have seen, I've only made one incorrect pick, and that was the Eagles versus the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yep.
People have been watching our show. People have been making money off of this because they go on their apps. I'm not shouting out any apps because we're not sponsored by them.
Exactly.
People have been going on the show and then going on their apps and filling out their sheets according to the things that we say. We have not been wrong. We have made a few miscues, but that's because those teams were not supposed to lose those games.
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry. Like we said that San Francisco and Baltimore was a toss up, and I'm the one that said that I Baltimore has a snowball's chance, but Baltimore also has a fighting chance because they need to win the game. They needed to win that game a lot more than San Francisco did.
They did. And
you agreed.
Yep. I mean, we called every single matchup except I want to say the Raiders Colts, which was a 3-point difference, and everything else was on the money. We called the Bills.
I think we said that it was going to be a come down to who has the ball last.
Correct. And so I think that's what it came down to. But ultimately, kind of, to your point, and that was going to be where I transition to next. I want to transition to the AFC. I want to talk about Baltimore. Right now, the AFC is kind of banged up. Baltimore is head and shoulders above all the rest of the teams in the AFC. Lamar Jackson's and actually Odell Beckham Jr. has said this is the best team he's been on. And mind you, Odell Beckham Jr. won a Super Bowl 2 years ago with the Los Angeles Rams. Is this Super Bowl or bust for the Baltimore Ravens? Because reason why they're talking about this on talk shows and the reason why I'm bringing this up here is because I look at the AFC. You do have the Bills who are surging. You saw the Dolphins get obliterated by Baltimore on Sunday. You do have the Chiefs who are kind of in the mix just by default, but they're not really that good. So I don't know who's really formidable against Baltimore in the AFC besides maybe the Browns, the Joe Flacco, who's basically having a career resurgence. So do you agree that, or do you think that this is the Super Bowl bust year for Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens in terms of kind of the competition?
So I am not well versed on everyone's contracts.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm not mistaken, Lamar's on a 1-year deal, right?
I think he signed a long-term extension, but it was a very, very painful process to get to that point.
Okay, so he got the contract.
Yeah, he got his money. Yeah.
I'm gonna say that if they don't have to win the Super Bowl. They have to go.
Yeah.
We're talking about Harbaugh, who is one of the. I realize that the rest of the world probably won't understand that reference, but I'm a Chicagoan. You lived in Chicago long enough to know. Harbaugh, Harbaugh is one of the longest tenured coaches in the NFL.
Yes.
But Harbaugh has won 1 Super Bowl. Harbaugh's been to 1 Super Bowl. And with a quarterback that's making his case for the Hall of Fame on a different team right now, a quarterback who hasn't been to the Super Bowl, who a lot of people regard as one of the best in the game, but also somebody who doesn't look happy to be where he's at, which I'm not putting that on Lamar, so don't give me that. But a lot of people don't think he's happy to be in Baltimore. I think Lamar Jackson is happy to be in Baltimore because I watched Lamar Jackson get drafted by Baltimore, and I remember what he said. And but I don't think that some of the brass feels the same way as Lamar Jackson, and I don't think that some of the brass is enthusiastic about having a coach continue to not win. And once again, I'll lean on my experience as a Chicagoan. You can have no losing seasons and go to the Super Bowl and still get fired.
That's correct. It's crazy to think about in hindsight. To be fired after a 10-6 season, I still can't wrap my mind around it. But yeah, I think
the Chicago Bears right now would love to have a 10-6 season right now.
Oh my
10-7. They would love it.
Lovie Smith with that defense. Could you imagine the possibilities? That would be phenomenal. Even though they don't have Roquan's obviously on a Super Bowl contender with Baltimore. I think,
I don't think Lovie Smith would have allowed that trade to happen.
yeah, I think Lovey. Well, I think Khalil Mack and all these guys are probably just stay put because they were playing for a coach who understands how to scheme and use them to their best abilities. Roquan was a rookie of the year that I actually got to see them play for the first time live at Soldier Field. And, with the influence of Khalil Mack, Akeem Hicks, and all these other kind of, big time ballers on defense, those monsters, that kind of, you see how that kind of, that domino effect, on these younger players. So now, where now Roquan is now the man, right? Arguably the best middle linebacker in the game next to Fred Warner, right? And so, I
Yep.
mean, you see also kind of that same with with Ray Lewis and Terrell Suggs, right? Ray Lewis, was basically already in the league, established veteran. He Sizzle gets in there and he's basically coming in. He's sacking quarterbacks left and right. But obviously, playing with Ray Lewis made him like one of the most fearsome tandems, in the NFL. And now Roquan Smith has Patrick Queen, right? Patrick Queen has basically been rubbed off by Roquan, and now you have that tandem, which is also very fearsome. When I saw them live a week and a half ago at fucking Levi Stadium here, and I'm like, oh my god, this team is ridiculously good, especially inside to take away that middle, right? So,
Yep.
anyways, back to the point. I think yeah, I mean, I think that this is Super Bowl bust because this is a year where the Baltimore Ravens have the best team in the league on paper, at least. No, I mean, my Niners might have something to say about that if we see them again. But in the AFC and obviously record-wise, they are the best team. Lamar is 1-3 in the playoffs. This would be the perfect time for him to kind of get those 3 wins and basically get a winning play postseason, like you said, get that elusive Super Bowl that's been eluding him for so long, right? So I think for those reasons, that's why it's Super Bowl best year for the Ravens. So I think and obviously 2 points. Now, let's go through and let's talk about a topic of contention for you. And like you said, Chicago, let's talk about our man, Justin Fields, number 2, right? Number 2 or number 1? I forgot his number. 1. Okay, my bad, bro. Number 1, Justin Fields. You called the blowout against the Falcons. They blew
Oh,
them
I
the
call
fuck.
it.
They blew them the fuck out. I mean, I don't care what anyone says, right? That was a blowout.
I watched the press conference before, but after last week I watched the press conference, and when we came on here, I told you they're gonna blow them the fuck out.
Yeah,
I
absolutely, absolutely. And
so we're
so,
playing in Chicago. Here's how it goes. Number one, it wouldn't have mattered if we would have played in Atlanta because Justin Fields is from Atlanta.
right.
That's number one. Number two, there was no way in hell he was going to come after that game that he had before that and slow down at all.
Yeah.
There was none.
Yeah.
As soon as he heard the fans cheering his name, as soon as he saw his teammates rally behind him, which they had not done the entire year, Justin Fields had a new fire lit under his ass.
Yeah.
They blew Atlanta the fuck out. And Atlanta's not a bad defensive team. Matter of fact, I believe they're in the top 15 in defense.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Now the narrative that's going around with kind of the Bears now basically solidifying their number 1 overall pick in the draft. Do you think the Bears, with the quote-unquote QB-rich talent in this coming draft, Caleb Williams from USC is a highly touted prospect, all these other draft prospects coming from different schools like Drake May and many others, right? Jaden Daniels, the Heisman winner. Bo Nix out of Oregon, right? 5-year player, great prospect. Do you think the Bears should consider, because a report came out today from Chicago that the front office is considering moving Fields for a 2nd-round pick and potentially moving off of him to get another quarterback? Do you agree with that? And tell me why or why not.
You have your timer?
I do.
I need 3 minutes. Let's see if I can do this in 3 minutes.
Let's go.
Let's put on my Bears GM hat, okay?
Hey!
Yeah, I got my Bears GM hat on, guys.
We out here, baby.
All right, Bears GM hat. We're Bears fans. All right, in 3 minutes or less, this is a special message goes to one of the biggest Chicago fan groups that I'm a part of, and that's called I Am Bear Cessed. You guys have been getting on my last nerve all week. Actually, for the last 3. Let me give you a couple things that I'm going to explain this to you. Number 1, we're going to start with USC. Caleb Williams, this is nothing against you. This is just statistics, and this is just an opinion. but I'm going to give you what I think. Number one, I can't tell you a USC quarterback that's been good in the NFL since Carson Palmer. Can't tell you that. Carson Palmer also had 5 of the deadliest weapons to ever catch a football that were catching footballs from him, both in Cincinnati and in Arizona. Okay, moving on. That's enough of that. The other quarterbacks that are in the draft, aside from May, who once again, North Carolina quarterback. Can't tell you the last time one of those guys did great. Let's keep going. The other guys are Penix, who is awesome, but the reason that he's so awesome is because he's a grown man playing against little boys.
Right.
He's been in college for 6 seasons. I'm going to tell you, when I was a high school athlete compared to when I became a college athlete, my body changed, my voice deepened, my balls got a little lower, and I got a lot stronger. If I would have spent 6 years getting there, I'm going to be better than everyone else around me. Because one, I signed an NIL deal that guarantees me at least $1 million before I ever set foot on an NFL field that isn't during a college game at an NFL stadium. And 2, because I'm playing in Washington. Not Washington, D.C., Washington State. Now, that's not the Big Ten. That's not the SEC. Okay? You didn't play against Bama all year. You didn't play against LSU all year. You didn't play against these guys all year long in their conference. You didn't do that. And I'm not even going to mention Bo Nix because he's another grandpa in college football. What I'm going to tell you is I'm going to tell you what Poles is doing. I'm going to tell you what Poles is doing, okay? What he's doing is he's going to throw it out there. Let me trade Justin Fields. I like this number 1 pick that I got. Thanks, Carolina. Everybody's thinking Carolina today. Everybody's thinking Carolina today. San Francisco's thinking Carolina. Chicago's thinking Carolina. Shoot, Atlanta might be thinking Carolina for something. Who knows?
Right.
But I'm going to tell you, number 1, these guys are the same age, if not older, than Justin Fields in some instances. These guys haven't went against elite defenses for the last 2.5 years like Justin Fields has. And these guys haven't had to play through the adversity and the injuries that come when you have a subpar offensive line and nobody to throw to.
Right.
If you forget, Justin Fields was putting up numbers when he didn't have DJ Moore and he didn't have Cole Kmet. Cole Kmet was absolute garbage 2 years ago. Go look at the stats if you don't believe me. DJ Moore has put up his best season of his career this year. Mooney has suffered, but also Mooney's hands are nowhere near as good as they were 2 years ago or last year. And everybody said that. Look at the number of drops that he's had. Look at the big game drops that he's had. And finally, we're going to talk about the biggest problem. We're going to talk about Getsy and Eberflus. Okay? These guys seem to have a wealth of people that come in there and have talent, and they just misuse them. You guys forgot about Mr. Trubisky and how many different coaches that he underwent? Did you forget about our boy Cade McNown? Yeah, I forgot about Cade McNown, didn't you? I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't forget about Cade McNown. I didn't forget about Rex Grossman. Like I said on the last show before this, take it all the way back to Cordell Stewart, trying to find a savior in quarterback, and guess what? We just never had it. Cutler was wasted. Probably literally, but at the same time, he was wasted in the talent that he had and the guys that were around him. And who are you going to blame? Are you going to blame the Bears front office? Are you going to blame Cutler? I can't blame Cutler. Cutler was great. Cutler broke all the records that he had here in Chicago. With everybody that he had, the receivers broke all the records in Chicago. Yeah, we're getting new records as time goes along, but that was a decade ago. So I'm gonna go on a limb here and say this is what he's really doing. This is what Poles is really doing. What he's really doing is dangling the carrot of one, Justin Fields, the most electrifying player in football today. And that number 1 draft pick that the Bears have been known to trade away. look at this. Go look at how many times the Bears have traded a draft pick. Go look at how many times the Bears have moved one spot up or one spot down to get a specific guy. And I'm going to tell you right now, they are not going to waste that draft pick on a quarterback from USC. First of all, you're talking about a quarterback from USC. It's the same height as me. And guess what? I ain't 6 feet tall, y'all. You're talking about a quarterback that's the same height as me with not the same upside. Doesn't have the same upside as Drew Brees. Doesn't have the same upside as Justin Fields. Justin Fields is 6'4", 6'5", 240 pounds of man meat. Okay, you can't replicate that. You can't teach size. To everybody that watches the show for wrestling, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You can't teach it. You can't teach that type of size, and you definitely can't teach that type of coordination to that type of size. What you need to do is you need to go and do what the other teams are doing. Are the Chargers throwing away Justin Herbert?
Nope.
Are the Jaguars throwing away Trevor Lawrence?
Nope.
I mean, to be honest, New England didn't even throw away Mac Jones.
Yeah.
Okay, and the only reason why Jimmy Garoppolo is not, or Trey Lance is not, either one of them are not suited up in San Francisco, is because there was a gem in the draft in Mr. Irrelevant that is out there balling right now. And let me tell you, had those two guys hadn't gotten injured, we wouldn't know Brock Purdy's name other than Mr. Irrelevant. And it's not because he doesn't have any skill. It's because of where he was drafted at, who he was drafted by, and who was in front of him. San Francisco had a literal catastrophe happen on the quarterback side. You lost 2 high number 1 round draft picks. You lost them. And so you had to go out there and say, hey, what's the worst that could happen? This guy is shot. Okay? Sink or swim. And he swam vigorously. So for all of my I am Bear-cessed people that have started tuning in to watch, and everybody who is saying all of this, I'm going to tell you, kindly let them cook and shut the hell up. You don't know football. You don't know me. You don't know the Chicago Bears. And until you've played a game on any of their fields, whether it be in Bourbonnais or Soldier Field or anywhere else around the country, you can't talk, especially to me, and tell me that I don't know football. When you've never won one of these, you've never played for one of these, you've never had anybody in your family do the one, go look up the branches. We got people in the Hall of Fame. The National Football Hall of Fame. Go look us up if you want to. His name, his initials are CB. He wore a number in the 20s. Don't tell me about football and who does what and when. Don't do that. You guys don't know anything. And that's why you keep on saying the stupidest stuff on the internet. Let Poles cook. Let him get his trades off. And you know what? I'm going to tell you this right now. I will burn this hat if they get rid of Justin Fields for nothing. I will burn it. I will burn it. I will slide back into Patriots fandom. I will slide back into Tampa Bay, or I'll move to Las Vegas and become a Raiders fan. You know what I'm saying? Or I just be like Cortez Sr. and be a 49ers fan for the rest of my life, because at least they don't do stupid things when they have generational talents like these guys are doing. A USC quarterback. You guys remember Matt Leinart? He was a USC quarterback, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He had Larry Fitzgerald, didn't he?
Yes, sir.
How did that work? Didn't he get replaced by an old ass man who went to the Super Bowl? Yes, he did. So what about the guy that was supplanted by another old man? Mark Sanchez? Remember that guy? Mr. Butt Fumble? I was there for that one.
You went to the game?
I was there.
Oh my gosh. How was that?
Fucking assholes. I say that not to our people that watch the show. This is strictly to the I am Bear-cessed fan club. Okay? Go get you a championship. Go do that. Until you get a championship that you did not buy on the internet, shut the hell up and let the players and the analysts analyze and play. And coaches, well, except for Eberflus because he can't coach, let them do their jobs. Let the GM go and make this team a winning team. And I guarantee you, if the Bears keep Justin Fields and draft players that complement Justin Fields' skill set like they did in every other successful city, they drafted these players. They didn't just sign people.
Yeah.
San Francisco, they drafted guys. They made strategic trades to get the guys they needed. They signed free agents when they became available, and they drafted the core. Look at what they did in Kansas City. They drafted the core. And everywhere else, that's successful. Bears fans, this guy is 24 years old. Shut the hell up. Let him play football. And unlike some of the other guys that you guys are gushing over and slurping and slobbing down the street, those guys are already old. They're already old. How you going to be the same age as a guy that's a 4-year veteran by next year? Talk about I'm a rookie. Okay, Brandon Whedon. What's Stetson Bennett doing besides being a backup? I swear, people have such a narrow mind when it comes to the draft and who's gonna do what and who's gonna be good. The last thing we need is Doug Flutie 2.0, and I'm saying it, Doug Flutie 2.0 in Chicago, because yeah, I might not have been alive yet, but I've watched enough football and know enough football players and been in a football family my entire freaking life to tell you that the Bears that were on there, like one of people who I can call friend, Steve McMichael, who literally called Doug Flutie a midget every time he got the chance. And I guarantee you that if Steve could talk right now, he would call him a midget today. There's not that many Drew Breeses out there, and you're not going to find it in a quarterback from USC. End rant.
Absolutely. No, I think that's kind of the kind of the bottom line. I think I think you made some really massive points. I think obviously, yeah, you do want to if you can get a better upgrade, you want to go for it. But I have not seen a USC quarterback pan out well in the NFL outside of, let's say, a Carson Palmer, who was also surrounded by Chad Ochocinco in his prime, a TJ Hushmanzada, a Larry Fitzgerald, and so on and so forth, right? And
Even Owens was there for a little while.
Yeah, and I mean, ultimately, he didn't really even have playoff success until his last couple seasons in Arizona with Bruce Arians, and you saw what Bruce Arians did in his first year with Tom Brady. I mean, the point is, I think, yeah, of course, the grass always looks greener, but if you can build around Justin Fields, you can probably give him some opportunities. But I do want to say it's intriguing to see Justin Fields potentially go to Atlanta with John Robinson and what's his name and Cordell Patterson, a former Bear.
We talked about this off camera.
Yeah.
That if the Bears let Justin Fields go to Atlanta, the Bears might as well pack it in for another decade.
Yeah.
I'm like, look, I wish Caleb Williams all the best. I wish Drake May all the best. I wish Penix all the best. I wish Bo Nix all the best, and all of the other draft day hopefuls. But why would I waste my number 1 overall draft pick on a guy with a noodle for an arm, a guy who's technically a midget in NFL terms for quarterbacks, a guy who is Mr. Glass, or a guy who decided to stay in college so long so he could break college records because he didn't think that he was going to be able to make it in the NFL. And I'm going to tell you, nobody stays in college if they think they can make it in the NFL. No one. That's a myth. It does not happen. It's not a thing. You don't stay in college because there's no benefit to it. Not even with the NIL deal, unless your name is Bronny James.
Yep.
And I guarantee you that Bronny James doesn't stay in college when it's time to get drafted because he's Bronny James. Not only does he not need the money from the NIL deals, he would rather be in the NBA developing against the best talent in the world. The NFL has the best talent in the world. I don't care what you did at Alabama. I don't care what you did at LSU. I don't care what you did at USC. I don't care what you did at U of I, U of Indiana, or any of the other schools in college. I do not care. No one cares, because when you get to the NFL, everybody is in the NFL.
Yep.
That's where everybody trains to go.
Exactly.
We don't get to play NC Central State in a warm-up game because there isn't any. Jacksonville can beat you.
Yep.
Cleveland can beat you. Washington can beat you. Arizona can beat you. Los Angeles, Oakland, well now Las Vegas, Chicago, Minnesota, Detroit can beat you and will beat you if you do not bring your A game. So I do not care about however many 9 million yards that he put up in Oregon. Because every Oregon quarterback that's come out has been ass.
Except Justin Herbert.
Except Justin Herbert. He's the only one that's not. But Justin Herbert is injured, which is just like being ass. Okay? I like Justin Herbert, and you know that. That's one of my favorite guys. He's my fantasy quarterback. I lost him and Justin Fields pretty much the same time. So that was my fantasy season for you. But other than Justin Herbert, ass. USC hasn't had a NFL quarterback in like 30 years that panned out, okay? I think the best player that came out of USC in the last 30 years is Reggie Bush. And then in 2 years, it's going to be those twins who just so happen to be named Branch. Zion. Okay, so go ahead. And Zach and Zion are going to be the future. But go ahead and do whatever you guys want to do when it comes to that. But I'm going to tell you right now, if we lose Justin Fields, we're going to regret it. And I think the rest of the league knows that. I think the Bears front office knows that. And the players definitely know it because they've talked about it.
Mic drop. All righty, let's kind of wrap up this episode with just some other major news and headlines. Brock Purdy has now set the 49ers single-season passing record with 4,280 passing yards, surpassing Jeff Garcia's record of 4,278 passing yards in the 2000 season. The 49ers are the first team to have a 4,000-yard passer and four 1,000-yard receivers since the 2004 Indianapolis Colts. Ultimately, the Niners offense is clicking on all cylinders. Lamar Jackson is currently the MVP favorite at minus 20,000 for odds. And essentially, that's pretty much it. I mean, I think this next week, I don't know if we want to preview any of these matchups because I think the only ones I'm really interested in are the Packers and the Bears and the Bills and the Dolphins. Everyone else, everyone's going to rest. I think the Cowboys are going to destroy the Commanders. There's nothing more to say there. So, I guess the real question is who's winning the AFC East? You got the Bills or the Dolphins? And it's at Miami.
Miami has a very hard time playing teams that are above 500.
Mm-hmm.
If Josh Allen doesn't turn into Jameis Winston, then the Bills beat Miami.
Right.
If it really is going to come down to who's going to be more of the impact player. Is it going to be Diggs or is it going to be Hill?
Right.
And that's pretty much where you bank on there.
Yeah. No, I'm with you 100%. I think, we'll see how well Miami bounces back, but we'll also see kind of, how good Buffalo is. If Buffalo did blow them out, and Buffalo is that team who's basically playing their best ball at the right moment, and they keep that momentum going, then they can definitely be a formidable, force, in the AFC, playoffs. That front four is very good. Their secondary is arguably the best, in my opinion. And, I think they match up well with Baltimore. The last time Baltimore made it, past the wild card round, they played Buffalo and they lost to the Bills. So I'm looking forward to seeing how well the Bills can kind of, keep this momentum going. And yeah, I think, that's it. So, last thing, WWE wise, The Rock return challenge is tribal chief, but so far the plans are.
Did he really challenge him though? I've watched it 6 times.
Yeah, he just called him out. The Jinder kind of came out.
I kind of feel like it was a tease.
I
don't think and then Roman's reaction to it just didn't make me think that it was this is not a WrestleMania match.
No. So that's what I was gonna say next. I was gonna say that they're still sticking with Cody. From all indications, they're sticking with Cody at Mania. They're gonna have Cody win the Royal Rumble because the first one to announce for the Rumble, and basically from there we'll see what happens. I think this will probably be an elimination chamber match in the Rock Rumble.
Either elimination chamber or Orton gets bumped from the Rumble.
Or something like that, yeah. We'll see what happens. So
I can see Orton getting bumped from the Rumble with a fake injury, with a fake injury storyline, pushing Orton and Reigns to the Elimination Chamber, and then pushing The Rock at Rumble. I would do Rock. I would do Rock and Reigns at Rumble. Roman's going over for sure. The Rock doesn't have a full-time schedule with WWE, but the Rumble is not going to be in the United States, right?
I don't even know where it's going to be. I honestly haven't been following on. I haven't been following it because
Yeah,
the Niners and the football has
I'm
been
going to tell
too
you
hot.
right now.
And actually, college football. Let's actually talk about that real quick before we adjourn. The Texas Longhorns lost to the, like you said, Penix, as well as Jim Harbaugh beating Alabama, and now it's going to be the Washington Huskies against the Michigan Wolverines. I got the Wolverines winning in the national championship. I think it's Jim Harbaugh's year, and well deserved. So, kudos to you, Coach. We miss you here in San Francisco, but Kyle Shanahan.
The real Rumble's at Tropicana Field. Where's The Rock live?
Right. I mean, Florida is. The Rock is actually. I think he lives in Beverly Hills now. I think he stays mainly in L.A. and then he just goes back and forth between Florida and Georgia.
I think he goes back and forth between
different residents. Yeah, same Tom Brady. Tom Brady had
yeah.
like the LA thing, then he had the one in New York City, so he's like back and forth.
Now Tom's got one in Las Vegas too.
Jesus fucking Christ! I mean, when the amount of money, dude, like these guys have, holy shit, bro.
If I was a little bit taller,
right?
Yeah. College football has been great to watch, and all those guys that are going out there to make something of themselves. I'm proud of every single last one of you players. I know I might talk a lot of shit on the NFL level, but as far as college goes, you guys are giving it your all. And, well, some of you are. Let's not talk about USC and Florida State.
Yes, sir. USC and Florida State.
Yeah, let's not talk about that. But the rest of those guys that are out there, I've seen some very great things come from you. I saw a high, middle, 30-something number player take over at Florida State and give it his all trying to win a game that was almost unwinnable, considering that over half of his teammates did not choose to suit up.
Yeah.
On top of it, I don't think that the half of those players that chose not to suit up will ever play football again. So that was the dumbest thing you did, man. You could have went out with a bang. The next thing is Michigan. Michigan, it was completely dominant in that game. And while it was a offensive struggle at times, I think that the heightened level of the game is what made the game so good. Texas did not sleep at all.
Yeah,
I was very happy with what I saw, and the Washington game was a little bit different. Like I said, Penix is a grown man. He's a grown man out there, and I think that's going to be a very good matchup in the bowl final. I mean, Alabama, you guys just wet the bed. You know what I mean? Like, you guys wet the bed. That's what happened. Like, Alabama had an opportunity to win that game. They really did, and they jagged. And I think that everybody in Michigan knew that they were gonna go ahead and. I think that the quote unquote NCAA script was already written for Michigan to be there. Now, I'm not saying that there's an actual script. I'm saying that like you don't come this far just to come this far.
Right. No, I agree, and I think ultimately, you just saw, a team, any given Sunday or any given Monday for that, for back better term, just kind of come out and show out. So, and I'm excited for Coach. I'm excited to see that.
Who you got?
Oh my God! I told you I got Michigan. I got Michigan winning it.
I'm taking Michigan too.
Yeah, I'm taking Michigan. I think it's just Jim's year, and I think after this he's gonna kind of ride to the sunset to the NFL. He already hired an agent.
Where's he going?
Yes, he's gonna have him and Ben Johnson are gonna have 7 to 8 teams lining up. I mean, so he's gonna basically
top three.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure. What he's prioritizing. If he's prioritizing a young quarterback, a franchise to build around, then obviously the Chargers look like a great fit. I think if he's prioritizing, anything else, the Falcons' job will probably open up, and if Justin Fields goes there, we'll see what Harbaugh can do. We saw what Harbaugh do with Kaepernick, so I mean, you can see that again. I mean, in Atlanta, if that happens, then
I think that the best spot is Chicago.
Of course.
I think that there's opportunity for glory in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
I think that he could potentially be getting a new stadium.
Mm-hmm.
He'll have the number 1 pick.
Mm-hmm.
And he used to be the quarterback for the Chicago Bears. And I think that he wants to finish his story in Chicago.
Finish the story like Cody.
But I will say this. If the Bears want Harbaugh, they're going to have to come with some money.
Oh, absolutely. No, Harbaugh is not going to be cheap, and I think that's why Ben Johnson might be more attractive to other teams because Ben Johnson is a very sexy name right now, and I think there's a lot of interest for him because he's lack of head coaching experience makes him a very very key candidate for many of these teams with how Lions perform. So, anyways, that's gonna wrap up this episode. Everyone, thank you all for tuning in. This is episode 150. Yes, we've hit 150 episodes. Thank you all for tuning in, supporting. Obviously, I appreciate all the messages on Instagram. Appreciate all your feedback. Any closing thoughts, my brother, for this episode 150?
Hey, once again, thanks for being a great host.
Thank
And
you.
this isn't possible without your vision.
Thank you very much. Absolutely. Not possible without you. Not possible without everyone subscribing. Our guests, obviously, I'm not going to go through the list. But one of them, Lincoln Kent.
One more thing.
Yeah.
F the Packers, man.
Fuck the Packers. Let's go, Bears. Anyways, also one more thing. Sorry, forgot to say congratulations to Lincoln Kennedy on being inducted to the Rose Bowl Hall of Fame yesterday. Well deserved, my brother. Love you, man. Hopefully we can get you back on the show soon. If not, whatever. Happy for you. Happy for your family. Well deserved. Hopefully you get a Pro Football Hall of Fame induction call sometime soon. You probably won't, like you said on your episode 2 years ago, almost 3 years ago actually now. But anyways, congratulations to Lincoln Kennedy on getting inducted to the Rose Bowl Hall of Fame. Well deserved. And I'm sure you're happy that your Washington Huskies are in the final. So, anyways, thank you all for tuning in. Once again, DDOG Podcast on Instagram, Twitter. Follow Soul Reaper 24. Y'all know me. Thank you all for tuning in. Feel free to subscribe, share, and Happy New Year. Let's make it a big one.